Jordan, what the hell is happening with the house prices? What are your predictions, and what is your advice to young millennials and maybe even Gen Z out there, and some sort of late on the bandwagon Gen X that are looking to buy a house?
Jesus, they're late. Guys, can we do polls yet?
Well,
can we crowdsource this answer to 400 people on Twitch that are watching this on a work day? I'm sure they're the people that I should be asking for huge financial decisions, but poll. Should I buy a house?
This
yes
was
or no?
not for you, Jordan. This was for... But
please.
I tell you what, if you bought a house last year, you got sucked in.
Massively. This is what...
Pretty
so do you agree
badly.
with this theory then, Ali? Don't buy a house for the next year.
No.
And then feed off the carcass of all the people that have gone bankrupt and have to sell their house.
Really sad, but it's true.
Look, I'm sick of this. Finally, the millennials get a break. You know, I mean, like, being able to play Spyro well into our 30s wasn't good enough of a run.
And this is what I've been advising Jordan actually, miss, about the house buying thing.
Yeah.
If you sit on your ass, you're going to make money.
As in if you buy and sit on your
Don't
ass?
buy yet.
Yeah.
The house prices are going down. With every dollar that goes down, you are actually saving money.
Well, I'll give you one. I'll give you one piece of advice which might shock and discredit you all. You ready for this, Jordan? Are you ready for this?
Yes.
If you bought a house in 2017,
Well, that was a golden time.
and sat on it, you'd double your money in bloody
certainly
2
would.
years.
Miss Loves Balabradjik's retrospective investment advice. You know what I also think you should have invested in? Microsoft. All right, that's my hot tip of the week.
Dogecoin if you got out early. All right. See you next week. That's the cover of
It's a thing called shorting. I don't really understand it. Ali, back to you.
I assume it's bacon fat. That's the cover of my profile pic of my investment firm. See you later.
Yes. Conquistador Enterprises.
The new fucking invasion.
But another question that arises is, does it even matter that house prices go down if the interest rate goes up? What difference does it make?
Jesus, that's a really good question. No, you know what it makes a
good
huge.
question.
You know what is for a huge advantage? People that have been desperately saving for a deposit over the last 10 years. Mild advantage to them. I think that's probably the way to go, though. If you can, I mean, let's just say this though, right? Buying a house in the next year, terrible idea either way. Some winners at the end of this bloodbath that will ensue.
Well, let's sort of delve into it. Every economist was saying that the worst case scenario for house prices to go down is about 30% depreciation, right?
Yeah, but they've been doomsdaying that for decades.
They have. We're sitting at
That's the thing.
7% now. If by
Are
next,
we?
Yeah, wasn't it at least in like some metropolitan areas of Sydney?
Wow, a 7% decline on houses that are worth $4 million. I'm sure you've noticed that.
It's a cool
It's not a lot,
3.99.
but like, you know, it progressively, even if it's 1 million now, it's like what, 920,000, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
Yeah, what are you saying, Ali?
I'm saying that it actually doesn't really matter either way.
It does matter. You shouldn't buy one now.
Look, there's
because then you're just going to get hit with high interest rates and an expensive house.
No, not now. So that's what I'm saying. The people that bought it last year and the year before, actually not even the year before, last year and this year are fucked.
Why?
Because they bought it at the peak price,
Right.
and their interest rates are now going to go up. So they if you
underspot.
overstretch, it also depends, man. It also depends how much of it she borrowed from the bank, how much of it she
Yeah.
paid herself. It's a
Yeah,
whole
she
host
bought
of
a house
stuff.
in Port Macquarie.
Yeah.
Like,
If
you
she
know,
bought-
it costs
Gingerbread
$30.
house.
Yeah.
If she got
You'd
it
be
on-
surprised that it's too much for Port, I reckon. But, you know, everything's going up. Am I right? That's episode 2 of my personal savings investment portfolio.
If she
I
got
gotta
it at a
wait until
fixed
you're a
rate, that's
guest
probably
on
better.
Koshi's beers.
No, yeah, but here's the question, right? Like, they've said that the housing market the bubble is gonna burst, or the price is gonna drop significantly for.
It really
Forever.
doesn't matter. The theory is,
It's never gonna
and
drop.
Jordan and I were
Nah,
talking
it
about
will.
this, that the rise of interest rates is inversely proportionate to the house prices.
So it matches.
Yeah, the more the interest rate rises, the property. If this theory is true, then it really doesn't matter.
But does
what would happen is that the rentals are going to go up because the market is going to become a rental market. So there's two ways you can live in a house, right? One, you have a landlord and squat.
There's three
ways. Squatting, preferably. But then you can either rent a property.
Especially in winter. Yeah.
You can either rent a property, which means that you have a landlord and you give them money. Mm-hmm. Or you can rent from the bank and become your landlord.
Yeah.
Right? Because either way you owe money. So the question is, once the interest rate goes up, I think the economy would move towards a point where the question would be whether I should rent or whether I should buy a property.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a difficult answer.
Why, this might be a little silly, why do interest rates go up again?
Shoot. Do you want me to do it?
Shoot.
Interest rates go up when the
banks decide to put it up.
Well,
yes.
In Australia's case, the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, which is not the bank that you go to, but the bank that your bank deals with.
Yeah.
Right? So they have a cost of money. So banks like Commonwealth, Westpac would borrow money from Reserve Bank of Australia, and they would borrow money at a certain interest. Now, when the economy is down, let's say right after a financial crisis, a 2008 financial crisis happens, the economy is tanking. What you want at that point is for people to invest money, right? Because there's such little money, people are losing their jobs. So we want you to invest money in setting up factories and setting up companies so you can employ more people, blah, blah. So the way you do that is by making the cost of borrowing really low. Because if you're a businessman and
what do you mean if? New shirts coming soon, Forest Hall.
So if you're looking to borrow money and the interest rate is at 1%, you go like, okay, I can make my money back, I'll do it. But if the interest rate is 7%, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't borrow money. In this case, I should just like sort of keep my money in the bank and reap off the interest. Now, when the economy is down and inflation is low, you want to make sure that the interest rate is low so people borrow money. In today's economy, after coronavirus especially, the market was flooded with dollars.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, everything becomes expensive because there's an inflationary aspect to it. The only way you can control inflation is by raising your interest rate. Because there's already too much money in the market. So what the government wants to do is actually restrict that money.
This seems to be Labor's position every time because they're dealt with an economy that's flush with, like, badly managed, but like flush with cash, right? Because it's always... Didn't Keating famously rise interest rates?
Huh?
Didn't Keating famously rise under his... Raise, yeah.
I think he lowered them, didn't he?
I don't know, actually. Now I'm going to have to... I think when they first came in, yes, they did lower interest rates, but towards the end, interest rates were going up. But the interest
rates were ridiculously high when Keating came in. I think they were in double digits or something.
That's what I'm saying. But then his interest rates were... They weren't high. They were OECD average, but they were much higher than they are now. But again, I got to say, a house in the 80s costs 80 grand and you could live in Vaucluse.
It's crazy,
you know?
Jordan, again, it's proportionate. The house was 80 grand, but your
and people's
salary
wages were several dollars less than they are now.
Was like
sometimes a shame.
Your wages were like 15 grand a year.
No, they weren't.
20 grand a year.
No, they really weren't. They were a little bit less than they are now.
They
like I swear people always say this about the 90s. So it's just like, remember when chips were $1.50 and now they're $3.20? Yeah, that's true. But for like big purchase decisions, they weren't that much worse off, you know?
Either way, the sort of boomers have benefited a lot.
Yeah, of course.
If there's any winners...
I'm sick of our generation shitting on them for just being born in a different time that was better than ours.
No, I'm not saying that. But like, if someone makes a shitload of money off of Bitcoin, I reserve the right to say, yo, you made a shitload of money off of Bitcoin.
Yes.
Not because, oh my God, how...
Financial genius.
Or like, how unfortunate or like how proved that you were born into a time when Bitcoin was a thing and it just took off. All of those things matter, but like... Call a spade a spade. You made a shitload of money off of it.
True, but if you have a house, you don't really have an investment. You can trade it for another house.
Well, actually, this is what I'm saying. So one of the things that I wanted to say is, in my opinion, I am no economist, but in my opinion, these rising interest rates is actually going to be a very good thing. Because what that does is, a lot of our the assumption was that after 2008, if we reduce the interest rate, like I said, that there will be increased investment, people would invest, people will have more jobs. That's not what happened. People started parking money into bullshit investments that create zero jobs. So like people would buy 2-3 houses. Why would you set up a factory when you can make more money from capital gains sitting on your ass? It makes no sense, right? There's the incentive over here is not to put your money in productive shit, but to put your money in low productive shit. So once the interest rate goes up, that entire avenue of making money of property kind of diminishes. Now, how do you make money? You have to fucking invest it into a business.
So
you need to make sure that the business does well because the interest rates are going up.
Feudalism never died, hey? The best way to make sure that you are continually prosperous is to just own heaps and heaps of land.
Right.
Yeah, but like I think this is a point where the owning heaps of land or housing or whatever was way better in 2000 to 2020 than it will be from 2020 to 2040.
You think?
Yeah, because what 2008 did was keep the interest rates were 0%. And then maybe 1% throughout the world. I mean, the developed world, the interest rates were so freaking low that there was no point in keeping your money in the bank. So you started buying shares and properties. Because if you keep your money in the bank, you're getting a shit interest back. So you may as well invest in Wollongong property and make a killing out of it. Once the interest rate get really high up there, unless you're a really big player, small players are going to find it less sort of financially advantaged to park their money in shares and property.
This is still the go, though. Once interest rates kind of peak, you still make your investments then, yeah? That's the general wisdom.
Well, look, the general wisdom actually kind of goes against it because technically speaking, if the interest rate is high, you're borrowing less money. And if you're borrowing less money, you're investing less money into businesses. However...
No, but if you are liquid rich...
If you're liquid rich, exactly. Now, those people that are liquid rich they're going to have to find other ways to make money. Really? And hopefully the other ways are going to be more productive than the last fucking decade that we've seen.
Well, I know that in the business world there was... You could go to any superannuation company in the country and then come up and say, I want to make... electric hot dogs. What is that? Just give me some money and you'll find out. Okay, here's 15 million. You could do that for a long time in superannuation. I've got friends now that are in that business world and they just kept getting refinanced for their ridiculous ideas, and then in the span of a month the money dried up and they had to lay off a bunch of staff, and that is going to keep ricocheting throughout the economy.
Apparently part of that has to do with the boomer population retiring. So we've talked about this in one of the previous podcasts, but basically the way your spending and saving habits go is that people in our age are consumption friendly. So we buy shit, a lot of shit, and we save less money, which means that we're actually like, we're the wheels of the economy.
Yes,
we keep the economy going.
It does.
The older you get, the more proportion of your income you start saving. So boomers who were just before retirement were at the peak of their financial status, as in they now have the most money. They also were investing heavily. So they were investing in shares, they were investing in property. And once you retire, now there's going to be no more income. So there's no more point investing. So you take all of that money and you park it into a bank and then slowly eat off of it until you die. Which is, again, going to benefit them, because if you take all of your money out of property and now put it into bank where the interest rates are rising, you make more money. But the problem with that is that there's going to be a dearth of liquidity in the market because there's not as much investing. So I think, again, the boomers win.
I'm just glad that geography teacher looking fuck figures this out, you know? The treasurer, I guess.
Who?
Is he the treasurer? The
Chalmers?
Yeah, the guy who's head of economy now.
Yeah, Chalmers doesn't look like a geography teacher.
So
He
he'll
looks like
do
a
it.
10-year-old that's pretty good at sport.
Yeah, I feel like he'll sort it, right?
Well, I think that he'll make the best of a bad situation, which
Right.
is should be Labor's slogan.
Yeah.
For being in government.
Yeah.
Get handed this every time.
I'm proud for everyone proud.